Donald Trump has decided to pivot on Joe Biden in the campaign to religion and guns, and here's how he expressed that sort of standard Republican narrative.
Because he's going to double and triple your taxes. He's going to do things that nobody ever would ever think even possible, because he's following the radical left agenda. Take away your guns, destroy your Second Amendment, no religion, no anything, hurt the Bible, hurt God. He's against God, he's against guns. He's against energy, our kind of energy. And I was in Texas the other day. I said, wait a minute. The other side is against guns. They're against oil and gas. They're against religion, Bible, God. How's he going to win Texas?
Guns,
inside his
gas,
mind is
Bible.
Inside his mind is like Charlie in the sunny, like, he's got a bunch of like, God,
we just referenced
Bible,
that on Monday.
It's just like, here's where it goes.
Pepe
This
Sylvia.
You got the Bible and the guns.
Yeah. He's against lamp. And I know it's so, like, to people who aren't dwelling in all of that, it's so weird that you can just throw out all of these seemingly disconnected nouns: gas, guns, God. It's like, wait, why are those things tied? Why is being for God mean that you have to, like, lust constantly over guns? What does that have to do with anything? But he gets his audience. I think that was in Texas. But he's going to hurt God. No religion. That Joe Biden is going to ban religion in America? That's obviously insane. It doesn't need to be said that it's insane. But is that convincing anyone? Is that effective? Is that going to swing some people to supporting Trump rather than Biden?
Well, especially, no. I mean, yes, here's why. Because there is a traditional sort of winning formula for Republicans when they run, and it is that they don't do it that explicitly. They do a version of that. They start with a bulletin board that says God, guns, Battlestar Galactica, and it's all these related things that are part of the platform, and they just message relentlessly at it.
Yeah.
And I would say, if you had to make a choice, ideally you would just message effectively in a coherent way. But
ideally,
if I take a step back, and similar to how before the show, no one heard this, but you asked me if I'd rather be a pirate reincarnated or something random. If I had to choose between these two worlds, where I either message in complete sentences that aren't really connected or affected,
yeah,
or I just message in a word cloud vomit of Republican talking point categories, I would rather my candidate message in a word vomit talking point category cloud.
Yeah.
And that's what Trump does. And when he's reading his stupid speeches and not caring about it, he is interpreting these messages the way most people interpret political speeches, just like blah, 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 nothing, nothing. But when he takes a step back and just goes, Biden's after your guns, getting back to the original question you asked, if he is messaging that way and not making people think COVID, failure, disinfectant, death, and now Dilbert is what Peter Navarro wants you to pay attention to, the Dilbert guy, his medical advice, then
yeah, maybe.
Then that's how they can try to get back on track and win.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I get that. And I'm glad that you mentioned that, because there was, I forget exactly what the attempted pivot was a few weeks ago, but it was pretty clear that's what it was. And we have to be aware of that. I don't think that we at TYT are likely to forget that there's a pandemic and an economic collapse, but the media is always looking for drama, and a race which is month after month, Biden looks maybe inevitable, is boring. And so, yeah, we do have to be aware of that possibility. Now, I do want to give Biden a chance to respond, because he's being declared by Trump to be, I would assume, the most viciously aggressive anti-religion politician America's ever seen, which Seems like a stretch. Biden, who was the country's first Catholic vice president and would be the first Catholic president in more than half a century, has been motivated by his faith throughout his long career in politics. Biden almost always has rosary beads in his pocket and frequently holds them in his hand, including while he monitored the raid that killed Osama bin Laden in 2011. Now, we can take issue with whether that makes sense, but he was doing it. He has written and spoken at length about how faith helped him grieve the loss of his first wife, daughter many years ago, and his son Beau more recently. He called Trump's attack shameful, saying that his faith is the bedrock foundation of his life. Now, look, I think America needs far more totally secular politicians, but you can't say that Biden's not religious.
Oh yeah. In a recent ad from the Trump campaign, they pulled together a bunch of photos to make it look like Biden was doing nothing and like sitting and cowering in a basement, when in one situation you can like see someone else's knee like in the photo. But one of the photos that they took was supposed to be Biden tired on a chair, when in reality he was praying at a church. Like, that was the photo taken. And so if I have to get through to, I mean, the problem is he's Catholic, to be honest, because there is this weird like Catholic Christian divide that Kennedy, if you say like he would be the first Catholic in over a half century, like Kennedy, I believe, was the last Catholic president, first and most recent Catholic president. It is not like cut and dry that the Christians would go along with that.
Yeah. Like
the other Christians would go along with that. But come on, you're not going to, you can't convince people of a couple things. You can't convince people that Biden is against working class Americans. You just can't, especially in Michigan, where he quotes, "save the auto industry." And these are messaging things, not like reality.
Yeah.
You can't convince him of that. You can't convince him that he ain't working class Joe. You can't convince people that Joe Biden isn't religious. Like, he just is.
Yeah.
He's a good old Catholic boy from Scranton.
Yeah, I think that, look, I think in theory you could convince them that what Biden would actually do for working class Americans isn't what they need if you were to run against him from the left, but Trump obviously isn't going to do that, and if he tries to, it's going to be complete sham.
Yeah. You just need 3 debates of Biden like he was in the last debate with Bernie.
To just sort of hold the line, yeah.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.